We are recording now.
Okay. All right. I'd like to call the order, the Gateway Board of School Directors regular board meeting for Tuesday, January 19th, 2021. Can we please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance? Okay, I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, Miss Isha, whenever you are ready for roll call.
Mrs. Cerrucci,
Here.
Mrs. Delaney,
Here.
Mr. Gallagher,
Here.
Mr. Gottman,
Here.
Mr. McIntyre,
Here.
Mr. Ritter. John? Did we lose Mr. Ritter?
Here.
Okay. Mrs. Warning
Here.
and Mr. Williams.
Here.
All right, thank you, Miss Isha. Comments from residents on agenda items. We'll fuse this with non-agenda items as well. And we'll check on this throughout the night. Just to confirm, Ms. Isha, do you have anything so far?
I do not.
Okay. All right, then. We're gonna move on to section A, minutes of previous meetings. And I know with this one here, we have the minutes from the reorganization meeting from December 1st, the minutes of the regular board meeting on December 1st. We have the minutes of the special board meeting on December 5th.
John
As
makes a
well.
motion to approve.
Hold on.
Second.
We also have the updated health and safety plan. Okay, so I had a motion from Mr. McIntyre and second by Mr. Ritter.
The other way around, but close enough.
Okay,
Yeah, Mr. Ritter first, Mr. McIntyre second.
all righty. Do we have any questions or comments regarding section A? Okay, then. Seeing none, can we have a roll call, please?
Mrs.
Actually,
Delaney-
let's, well, can we just
Sorry,
do, can we just do all in favor, say aye?
Aye.
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 All opposed? Okay,
Motion carries. Thank you.
all righty. Let's move on to section B, financial reports. Mr. Schott?
Thank you, Mr. Gottman. Section B, financial reports. Resolved that the Gateway Board of School Directors approves sections B1, list of bills, B2, monthly financial statements, and B3, budget transfers as listed in section B at the Tuesday, January 19th, 2021 regular board meeting. Those consist of specifically section B1, list of bills for January 2021, section B1, list of bills for January 2021 added after study session, section B2, monthly financial statements for the month of November and December 2020, and section B3, budget transfers for the month of January 2021.
So moved.
Second.
Motion by Mr. McIntyre, second by Mrs. Cerrucci. Any questions or comments? All right, Ms. Isha, can we do roll call?
Mrs. Delaney,
Aye.
Mr. Gallagher,
Aye.
Mr. Gottman,
Aye.
Mr. McIntyre,
Aye.
Mr. Ritter,
Aye.
Mrs. Warning,
Aye.
Mr. Williams,
Aye.
Mrs. Cerrucci. Motion carries.
Okay, we move on to section, we don't have anything for section C, which is previously tabled items. So we'll move on to section D, personnel agenda. Mrs. Crump.
Thank you, Mr. Gottman. Resolved that the Gateway Board of School Directors accepts and approves the personnel agenda items 1 through 7 as listed in section D for the regular school board meeting of Tuesday, January 19th, 2021. Under resignations, we have 7 listed. One new one that we would like to call to your attention, and that is for Teresa Brandt, who has submitted her retirement request. Teresa's been at Evergreen for 31 years, and so we appreciate all of her years of service. I know she has mixed feelings about this, but we do want to wish her well. Under leave of absence, we have 8, 1 additional new. Under section 3 for employment, for second semester temporary teaching positions, we're recommending Michael Baird and Kylie Nairhood to fill long-term sub positions. Virtual after-school tutors, we have 13 listed. We also have a substitute custodian. Under section 4, we have a supplemental contract. Under section 5, we have 2 athletic event workers that we were recommending, 1 additional since the study section. We have 1 volunteer under number 6, and we have a new one for this evening, number 7, for Kelly Educational Services, and that's to approve the contract extension with Kelly Educational Services.
Okay, thank you, Ms. Crump. Do we have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Motion by Mrs. Cerrucci, second by Mr. McIntyre. Do we have any questions or comments? Okay, seeing none. Ms. Isha, can we have a roll call?
Mr. Gallagher,
Aye.
Mr. Gottman,
Aye.
Mr. McIntyre,
Aye.
Mr. Ritter,
Aye.
Mrs. Warning,
Aye.
Mr. Williams,
Aye.
Mrs. Cerrucci,
Aye.
Mrs. Delaney.
Aye.
Motion carries.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome. Okay, moving on to section F, the administrative report. Dr. Short.
Thank you, Mr. Gottman. For secondary education, Dr. Chaky, could you take item number 1?
Item number 1, approve the pilot of My Perspective for
Item number 2 is final approval of My Perspectives Grade 6 that was placed on public display beginning December 1st, 2020. And item number 3 is approve the public display of Envision Math.
Item number 4, approval of the general fund budget tax rates not to exceed the index for the 21-22 fiscal year. Again, I will not read the entire resolution, but to paraphrase, specifically states that the district will pass the resolution in lieu of applying for referendum exceptions or putting a referendum on the ballot, basically stating that the index of 3.6% will be enough to balance the budget. 3.6% is the equivalent of 0.7259 mils, which equates to in dollars $1,657,000 approximately for that. The district's current millage rate is 20.1655. Thus, if a full 3.6% was utilized, the new millage rate would be a maximum amount of a 20.8914 mils. Item number 5 is another annual item that we do together in regards to the budget for next year, specifically approval of advertisement for bids for a general fund for various school supplies for the 21-22 fiscal year as depicted below. Item number 6 is acceptance of district donations received for the 2021 fiscal year. Specifically, the first donor item from Kristen McConnell, Cheryl Boyce, and Heather Price, $250 check in memory of Carol Enan. Recipient, Michael Crestar, for purchase of library books at University Park Elementary School. Second item is from Robert Tomasin, Spitzer Toyota, $12,000 check for Dr. Emily Levine for the purchase of books for book vending machine in the amount of $1,819, and the balance of $10,181 to be determined for expenditures by administration for the benefit of other students and buildings. And the third item, the Dick's Sporting Goods Foundation, $1,000 check, Don Hall, boys lacrosse team at Gateway High School. Item number 7 is compensation of real estate tax collectors for the 2022-2025 calendar years. And again, I will not read the entire resolution, but to paraphrase, this is something we do every 4 years. What is included in this resolution? The base rate of compensation during the 4-year term increases by 1.0% for 2022 only, and then does not increase further, or 0.0% for 2023, 2024, and 2025. That applies to both Monroeville and Pitcairn. So in terms of what does that equate to, for municipality Monroeville, would be increases of $385 per year. or $1,540 over the 4 years. For the Borough of Pitcairn, the increase amounts to $162 per year, or $648 over 4 years. The two combined increases amount to $547 per year and a total of $2,188 over the 4-year period. Item number 8 is approval of Foreman Program and Construction Managers, Inc. to perform construction management as advisor services for Gateway Middle School renovation construction project. Again, to perform the construction management as advisor services required for the Gateway Middle School renovation project and the budget amount of $869,000 as depicted in Exhibit A. Please note, the request for proposals or RFP was submitted to 5 firms. 2 of the firms indicated they were not able to take on the additional work at this time. Of the 3 firms which submitted RFPs to the district, Foreman Program Construction Managers, Inc. was the lowest in price, and the firm previously performed the same type of service for the district during the most recent high school renovation project.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Schott. Do we have a motion?
So moved.
Do we have a
Can
second?
can I mention something?
John seconds.
Okay, hold on, Ms. Delaney. We have a motion by Mrs. Cerrucci, second by Mr. Ritter. Now, Ms. Delaney.
Okay, this was going back to the administrative reports, and I was just wondering with that, I think I asked this some time ago, when they have these different programs on display, where exactly, I wanted to go and look at some of the material. I wasn't sure exactly where on display meant.
Dr. Rossi?
We work with the publishers, depending on the publisher, to have a digital display.
Oh, digital display. Okay,
Available. We do have the hard copies available, but during the pandemic, we've been trying to work with the publishers that have a digital display available if anyone would need that. It all depends on the publisher, but we do have the hard copies in the office, main office.
And in which office?
The admin office.
Oh, okay. So if you still have them there, so if at some point I wanted to just look at some of the materials, I could?
Yes.
Okay. That's all.
All righty. Do we have any other questions or comments?
Yes, I have a question, Mr. Schott, on number 8. The signing this contract at the $869,000. How is that payable? Because I know that in the bid it was broke down depending upon where we're at in the process. If there's a delay along the way, how do we handle that with this firm?
In front of me. As far as the next step in the process for the pre-construction phase services, bidding phase services, those would be some of the items they would be working on immediately for that. As far as the remaining phases, construction phase services during the actual construction, and then any closeout at that particular point in time, none of that would be incurred. And that's, again, under assumption that the project is not moving forward with that as well. But as far as their services are extremely critical to being able to get the documents together for them to work with Access Architecture to be able to put good documents out on the street that are accurate and enable interested bidders to be able to review them and to provide good numbers back to the district so we can analyze the viability of the entire project.
Okay.
And also,
that's what I thought. I just wanted to verify that.
Sure.
Mr. Gallagher, they will be working with Access to develop a phasing schedule. That is a timeline that will be developed over 1.5 years that would provide points in time that certain features or parts of the project need to be completed by.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. Anybody else have any questions? All righty, seeing none. Ms. Ishak, can we get a roll call, please?
Yes. Mr. Gottman,
Aye.
Mr. McIntyre,
Aye.
Mr. Ritter,
Aye.
Mrs. Warning,
Aye.
Mr. Williams,
Aye.
Mrs. Cerrucci,
Aye.
Mrs. Delaney,
Aye.
Mr. Gallagher.
Aye.
Motion carries.
All righty. We'll move on to section G, resolutions presented by board members. And I believe tonight we have two. So the first one, Mrs. Warning.
Yes, this is regarding the Eastern Area Special School Sunrise School roof. As a result of the failure of the condition of the roof on Sunrise School building at its meeting of November 19th, 2020, the Eastern Area Special Schools Committee voted to authorize Andrews and Price to initiate litigation against 3 parties who were responsible for the roof. Those parties are BASF, who provided the roofing components, Simons, who designed the roof, and Cardinal Roofing, who installed the roof. As anticipated, the litigation, if protracted, may cost $30,000 or more. However, we are hopeful that a resolution may be reached before legal fees reach that point. Because of the significance of this action and the corresponding potential cost of pursuing litigation, we are asking each of the member school districts affirm the course of action. We are confident that the litigation will ultimately be successful. However, it may take years to conclude. Andrews and Price will begin to prepare the complaint and will coordinate with Dr. Short in his efforts to resolve this matter without the need for litigation. Assuming Dr. Short's efforts do not prove fruitful, we will then be ready to file the complaint.
Okay. Thank you, Ms. Warning. Does anybody have any, I guess we need to make a motion. Is there a motion for, let's do these separately. Is there a motion to approve number 1?
Johnson moves.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion by Mr. Ritter, second by Mrs. Cerrucci. Do we have any questions or comments regarding item number 1?
Again, I just want to thank Dr. Short for stepping up and overseeing this.
Hopefully we'll be able to get a resolution soon, Mrs. Warning. We've been fortunate nothing has happened since the discovery of the roof.
All right, if there are no further questions or comments, Ms. Eastock, can we get a roll call vote on number 1?
Yes. Mr. McIntyre,
Aye.
Mr. Ritter.
I was on mute. Aye.
Mrs. Warning,
Aye.
Mr. Williams,
Aye.
Mrs. Cerrucci,
Aye.
Mrs. Delaney,
Aye.
Mr. Gallagher,
Aye.
Mr. Gottman.
Aye.
Motion carries.
All righty, let's move on to number 2. Mr. Gallagher.
Thank you, Ms. Gottman. Learning sessions and equity committee recommendations. The Gateway School District is one of the most diverse districts in the state. Our diversity includes, but not limited to, racial diversity, economic diversity, religious diversity, gender identity diversity, and language diversity. The Gateway School Board of Directors has a responsibility to represent each and every member of our community in our conversations, deliberations, and decision-making. Each member of the Gateway School Board of Directors also has a responsibility to be educated, openness to learning, and full engagement with our entire community in all ways that we can in order to properly respect, serve, and represent our community. Not only will education, learning, and engagement better equip us to represent our community, it'll make us better as individuals. Therefore, be it resolved that the Gateway School Board of Directors schedule are encouraged to participate in and learn from trainings which should include, but not limited to, implicit bias training, cultural understanding sensitivity training, religious differentiation training, and gender identity training. Be it further resolved that the Gateway Equity Committee be tasked with making recommendations in the partnership with the Gateway School Board President and Administration coordinate and schedule trainings. Be it further resolved that the Gateway School Board of Directors and the Gateway Equity Committee plan and hold the first training no later than March 2021.
So
Okay.
moved. John seconds.
All right,
Second.
we have a motion by Mr. McIntyre, second by Mr. Ritter. Any questions or comments on number 2?
Sure. This is John. If I may jump in, I've taken Dr. Heather Bennett's equity training 3 times since September 2020. So in theory, I agree with the fact that all school board members need to take the training from PSBA or other folks, but PSBA has already done a terrific job of offering a full suite of training. I've taken that at least 6 times over the past 5 years that I've been on the school board. And so all school board members, I fully agree, need to be well trained in all the aspects of being school board members. So in theory, I'm in favor of this, but on the other hand, I don't want these trainings to be forced on people. And so for that reason, I'm either going to abstain or vote negative on this.
Oh, remember, these aren't forced because
Right. These are suggestions.
There's no punishment for a board member who can't do it.
Right.
It's just encouraging to have it. And I know with my company, I've gone through a training. However, being my company versus the school, there are some differences. So, it wouldn't be a bad idea to participate in these. And again, it's just to encourage us and to have the board members be involved with this in the same way that our teachers and staff are too. So
Exactly. Yep.
I think it's a good idea to have this in case you can't attend the PSBA ones. I mean, we have this here too. So I do like this.
And let me also add that I don't think you could ever be overtrained. Things are constantly changing. We see that just through the pandemic and all. So because our world is constantly changing, I don't think you could ever have too much training.
So if it's not mandatory, why do we need a motion?
Some of the training is mandatory from the PSBA. School board members have to fulfill a certain number of courses each year, but they also offer optional training and then some of it's paid training. So there's
I think one of the reasons why I put this resolution forward is that specifically it's going to connect us with our equity committee, who knows the details of our district, and can provide training that PSBA is, although the training is great, it's not directly coordinated with the district. And this gives us a little bit of insight for our equity committee to say, these are the things that we would hope that our board of directors are able to have an understanding about the changing dynamics within our own district. So not only is it the encouragement of our directors to participate in these, or they're encouraged to, as for our discussion last week, they cannot be mandated. And it also increases our communication with our own equity committee along the way. So
Very good.
It's got a couple other ties to it.
Thank you, Dr. Gallagher. And so even if I do abstain on this or vote negative, that does not mean I very well might not take these courses anyway, because I think it's important for people to know what the folks in the school board think. And so I'd be happy to offer my 2 cents, and I'd be happy to hear other people's 2 cents so that we can all learn from each other. I mean, that is the goal of education, right?
Right.
So I put a lot of thought into this, if I may, over the last week, and consulted with several people, and also attempted to connect with Dr. Gallagher. And unfortunately, over the last 2 days, we have not been able to connect to discuss this. So I do have some thoughts that I'm going to share with everyone, if you would be so kind. There are a few problems with this motion. One, it is not required to proceed with offering trainings to board members. You can simply ask the board president or administration to make available any trainings that you would like to have, and they can be scheduled as executive session trainings prior to a board meeting. Second, the problem is that it's not legal to mandate trainings outside of what is required by the school code. Therefore, it is not enforceable to require or even strongly suggest trainings that you think board members should have. We are all elected officials chosen by the voters of this community to represent them. That means we are also not employees of the Gateway School District. So to reiterate, neither the school district nor our board colleagues have the right or the authority to tell board members what trainings they must take to be a member of this board. PSBA provides the trainings and the legislature sets the requirements for us to be here. The PA school code states that schools, quote, shall not engage in illegal discrimination on the basis of race, creed, or color. We should be looking toward the PSBA and the PA school code for guidance on these types of programs. That doesn't mean, as John said, we won't voluntarily read materials or consider trainings offered to us above and beyond what is required by the school code. I certainly support self-evaluation and self-improvement. The call for a diversity program for the school board, prompted by one former board member's mistake, lump every one of us into one pool of guilt and is becoming a distraction. These programs make crucially wrong assumptions about the beliefs and character of the people they train and have not been proven to improve the results over a school district in a measurable way. Programs undergo no oversight or scrutiny before they're implemented. I would also argue that putting this motion on the table puts your board colleagues in a precarious situation, because if they don't support it, we all know they will be subject to the political attacks and false labels that are flying around social media in this politically charged environment, as evidenced by what some of you are aware what was done to me this very weekend because of my political affiliation. It won't matter if board members have said trainings in their corporate jobs have provided this to them. It won't matter that there are no specific details provided on what the said trainings would be, how much they would cost, or if they have a measurable outcome. As Americans, we have all faced problems through honest, intellectual discourse. Our First Amendment protects our freedom of speech, and as a corollary, our freedom to think for ourselves. We may not always agree, but we must always be able to express our disagreements to one another in a respectable way. This is the basis of our republic. The moment that we allow cancel culture and personal attacks against those who may think differently than we do, we give up our democracy. So what am I suggesting in place? I'm suggesting that we act like Americans who were created equal by God and who are subject to the law. I am urging us to model the free speech we all cherish. Let us talk about these issues. Let us persuade one another rather than bully one another. Let us realize that we don't all have to think the same way in order to be a well-functioning school board. Diversity of thought should be something that is also celebrated. Remember that you can share different views and still respect one another and still care about one another. We need to focus on priorities. Right now, we have 3,200 kids that have had their academic lives flipped upside down, regardless of their race, gender, religious, or political view. That is really where the time, energy, and money should be spent. We need to focus on getting our kids back in the classroom and back on track. Therefore, I'm asking you, Mr. Gallagher, to please withdraw this motion. Thank you.
Yeah, respectfully, I believe that once I present a motion as a first and a second, it is now in the hands of the body. No longer my motion to withdraw by Robert's Rules of Order.
All right.
A quick question, Mr. Gallagher. The trainings you have listed there, those are roughly the same trainings that we do require for our faculty as well, correct?
I believe so, yes. I think that
Okay.
Dr. Shaky answered that last week.
Actually, according to my correspondence, unless something has changed, the actual trainings haven't been determined.
So would this need to specify that in regards to the trainings that are listed there, that it'd have to be in line with what we've been offering the teachers?
I think that the language of the resolution states that the Equity Committee makes recommendations. in a partnership and conversation with you, that those are brought back to the board and offered to the board.
So in a way, it is open in terms of what we would be encouraged, not mandated to do.
Correct.
So it does offer the ability to use the same trainings that the staff has. And if that's the case, then there would be essentially a zero cost for that because it's already designed, as well as saving time because it's, again, already been designed.
Can I also interject something too? And that is, yes, we've had this past year, not so much 2021, but still part of 2021 that we're entering now. We've had it turned upside down. Yes, we've had many distractions. They not have only been distractions from the pandemic that has come with COVID, but the pandemic that has come with racism. And in doing so, I think that it is just should make us more mindful. And being more mindful, we should want to in every way better ourselves. And in order to better ourselves, it's not just from looking at things in a narrow perspective. I think we need to be as broad as possible. And in no way are we trying to take away the First Amendment. In fact, the First Amendment was so much denied if we look at 400 years of racism, but I'm not going to get into that.
Mr. Gottman, is it okay I ask Dr. Chakey a question?
Sure.
Dr. Chakey, who picks out the training as far as on the equity committee? Is the committee as a whole or you presented with ones?
It's a committee as a whole. We discuss different needs of the district. We've predominantly been focusing on culturally responsive pedagogy, which may not be applicable to board directors, but we're also taking a look at moving into some beyond diversity training where you're taking a look at implicit bias and moving into those areas as well.
How is the teachers, how many training do the teachers get on the equity?
We've had, most of the teachers have gone through CRP, Culturally Responsive Pedagogy 1. Some teachers have had CRP, but it is a challenge getting time designated within a day for some of the professional development. They've been utilizing some of the Wednesdays during the pandemic with the hybrid model to deliver some of this training as well. But it's basically centered upon culturally responsive pedagogy.
Is it mandatory for our teachers to take these?
It goes back to when you think about how everyone's being evaluated, how the teachers are being evaluated. You take a look at Domain 4, responsibilities, and we want teachers to have a growth mindset. So part of their evaluation is gathering evidence around how are they enhancing their own practice. So evidence is gathered as far as, are they open to the professional development? There's actual verbiage within the Danielson model that states, you know, are they receptive to feedback? Are they receptive and engaging in professional development? So it's all a part of the whole snapshot of one's practice involving professional development.
Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Ritter, you can correct me on this one here. I was looking this up on the PSBA site for school directors and required trainings, and whether you are on board for the first time or you've been reelected, the only trainings, there's a lot more trainings for those who first come on board, and those who've been reelected, the trainings could reduce down to 3, which are trauma-informed courses, advanced school finance, and advanced policy and legal updates. I know these required trainings started in 2019 for those who were elected at that time. So nowhere does it say anything regarding this topic. So yeah, having this available for the school board, yeah, definitely doesn't hurt, and could be worth the time doing it. So again, I mean, having this available, even if it's the same one that the teachers take, for any board member that would like to take it at any time, would be nice to have.
Right. I agree with you, Brian. My point is it doesn't require board motion and board approval to do that.
All right. So since we already have the motion a second, I mean, do we have to, no, we still have to vote on it?
That's correct.
Okay. All right. Since we do have to vote on this, are there any other questions or comments before we go into a vote?
Yeah, Brian, I just looked it up in my notes from the Advanced School Director Training at 11:15. Dr. Heather Bennett, Juris Doctorate, PhD Director of Equity Services, offered trauma-informed education. This was in 2019, December 7th. So it's built into the training set. So in a given training, introduction to new school board members, there's a slot for various pieces or sections of the education. And 11:15, she offered that piece in that set. So the overall course is called Advanced Director Training, but within that, there was equity training included.
Okay.
Tactics, where to start, beginning stages, implementation stages, focuses on safety, non-discrimination, child abuse, lead testing, hazing, tobacco, transgender, First Amendment rights, student attendance, employee furloughs, federal program. In other words, it's a complete set of training, of which some of those pieces are already included. So that's why I'm making an attempt to point to the PSBA and encouraging the school board members. I'm sure not all of them have taken these courses, but that's a good place to find it.
Okay.
And these are my notes.
Well, thank you.
Sure.
As always, it's appreciated. All right. Do we have any other questions or comments? All righty. Then seeing none, Ms. Ishak, we do a roll call on number 2. Whenever you're ready.
Mr. Ritter,
No.
Mrs. Warning,
I'm going to abstain.
abstain. Mr. Williams,
Aye.
Mrs. Cerucci,
I will abstain.
Mrs. Delaney,
Aye.
Mr. Gallagher,
Aye.
Mr. Gottman,
Aye.
Mr. McIntyre.
Aye.
Motion carries.
Okay. Well, then for the Equity Committee, ball's now in your court to come up with recommendations. So we can get the trainings on the books. All right, with that, we're gonna move into, actually, before we move to board reports, Ms. Isha, do you have any comments from the community?
No, I have none.
Okay, I'm not seeing none either. All right, so now we're gonna move into board reports, and we'll start with Dr. Short.
Thank you, Mr. Gottman. I've had a couple of inquiries from secondary parents in regard to midterm exams, semester exam, final exams for semester courses. And I did want to pass along the information that midterm exams are factored into students' grade point averages, along with their final exams at the end of the year. The summative nature of these exams falls in line with preparing our students for essentially trade school, colleges, and universities that do have these experiences built in within their curriculum. Teachers at the high school do have the flexibility in how these assessments may be provided. For example, a project or another form of assessment that displays the strength of knowledge that the learner has accumulated throughout the semester can be utilized. To simply do away with midterms and or finals creates an inequitable situation for class rank that is determined by the final GPA at the end of the year. So recognizing that this has been unprecedented with what we've faced over the last year and a half, I firmly believe that we are moving forward almost back to 5 days of instruction that I foresee in the near future. Midterm and final exams have been a staple of what we do and are currently required as evidenced by the grade point averages and class ranks. So please be patient. Our teachers will do their best to prepare our students, and I am positive that eventually you will see the benefit from these. Item number 2 I have for tonight is School Board Recognition Month. I feel it's important that our community understands and recognizes the efforts of our board members and what they've done and their commitment over the last couple of years, for some of the members 4 to 8 years, but especially during this time of pandemic. The amount of meetings and time dedicated to our children and the community, no doubt has taken them away from their own family experiences in dealing with the pandemic in their own houses. So it is at this time that I would like to recognize truly everyone on this board for their commitment and dedication to the students and the families of Monroeville and Pitcairn. It's definitely not lost on me and our administration of the support and work that you do behind the scenes to really manage a budget, look at policies, provide direction and leadership from the board level. So on behalf of everyone, I'd like to say thank you for all your efforts. So I am Mr. Gottman.
Thank you so much, Dr. Short.
Brian, this is John. Could I jump in just for a second before we let Bill go on that topic? Heather Bath just asked a question about the teachers being able to get the COVID-19 vaccine and whether the district has been in contact with the medical facility to administer that. I also remember getting a text about a day or two ago where one of the organizations had a couple vaccines left over, and they were saying if anybody, elderly or whatever it is nearby and could use the vaccine, jump onto this and just get over there and get it. So because the administration of this vaccine is a little, tempestuous sometimes, Dr. Short, is there a way that you could sort of get first in line so that, if vaccines do become available, so you could have some teachers that would be lined up that could, just grab a text message or something, and if they're nearby, go over there so it doesn't go bad,
Absolutely, Mr. Ritter. I've been in contact with Dr. Mark Rubino, president at Forbes Hospital, and he is anxiously awaiting additional supplies of the vaccine once they become available, and he has met the requirements of the first responders. He has indicated that teachers would be next. So clearly I am simply waiting for that phone call. We have the list prepared. Teachers will be first on that list.
Bingo, thank you.
John, I can add a little bit for the community too. Just today, Pennsylvania aligned their vaccine standards with the CDC recommendations of age 65 and older. And the Pennsylvania Department of Health has a website up and running that has a interactive map. And if you are looking for a vaccine just as a citizen, you can go out to that website, click on the location where you live, and you can see the providers that will be providing the vaccines to the general public, and you can receive a phone number there to contact them if you're interested in getting that scheduled as soon as it is available. Again, right now they're still on 1A, but they have revised the people that are included in 1A, and you can find all that on the dashboard at the PA Department of Health under the COVID vaccine information tab.
Very good. The administration of these vaccines are fluid. So that extra bit of solid information, Mary Beth, is quite helpful. Thank you.
Yes,
let me ask. Oh, I'm sorry. I'm going to say, let me ask, do you know whether or not necessarily on the PA Department of Health, if you even wanted to know where to get COVID testing in our community? You think that would be on there as well?
I would think that would be on there. I myself had testing done at the local CVS, and it was very quick and painless. I know Allegheny Health Network, Forbes Hospital's doing it. I'm sure UPMC is still doing it. Some of that depends on your healthcare insurance that you have.
Okay, thank you.
All right, thank you. All right, so let's continue. And I do apologize. I missed her last time, so I'll make sure I get you this time. Ms. Bungard.
Thank you. Nothing at this time.
Thank you. All right, Dr. Chakey.
Nothing further. Thank you.
Thank you. Dr. Rossi.
Yes, I just want to announce that kindergarten online registration will open February 1st, and all information can be found on the district website. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Schott.
Nothing further. Thank you.
All righty. Ms. Crum.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Gottman. Now that we're entering into in-school, we are advertising again and taking applications for paraprofessionals, food service workers, lunchroom aides, and also substitute custodians. So if you're interested, please contact our office and we'll set you up with an application. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. All right, let's do our board members now. Let's go with Mr. McIntyre.
Nothing at this time.
All right, thank you. Mr. Ritter.
Sure, if I may double up on the reminder, if you or somebody who's had the COVID-19 and they are able to donate blood, now's a great time to do it. I'm down to donating every 7 days now because I had the COVID and I'm positive for the antibodies, and so my blood can help 4 other people, and so I'm so happy to do that, and I encourage other folks to do that as well. It's very easy to do. It takes about an hour and 15 minutes, and it's a wonderful, wonderful feeling, wonderful thing to be able to help. That's all I have.
All right, thank you, Mr. Ritter, and again, thank you for donating that as often as you do. It really does help our community. Ms. Warning.
Yeah, before we go, I would like to change my vote on that equity to yes instead of abstaining. Bonnie, if you could do that.
I can make that adjustment.
Okay, thank you. Just if you get a chance, if you go on to the athletic website, you can pick up the home games. Right now, our boys are losing at Franklin Regional. They're down by 7 at halftime. They had an excellent game last Friday. It was senior night already. I'm just glad that we're getting in the items and the activities that these students have missed. Dr. Short, question. Has there been any movement on these clubs? Have anybody started meeting?
Yes, I don't have that list in front of me, but I do know Sean McMahon is one of the clubs. We've been in contact with Mr. Stevens, robotics, and Mr. Rob Brown to have a designated spot that we know that they would be at, and ultimately the area would be cleaned. So we have other clubs and committees that will be moving forward soon.
Okay, thank you. And just another note, the Winter Guards will be having first meeting at Gateway Middle School this weekend. I believe it's going to be on the website, or you can contact Mr. Halchi for further information. And again, thank you to all the teachers, staff, administrators, food service, custodians, everyone that's keeping up with this pandemic that we're going through, and for everything else that you are doing, going above and beyond. And that's it. Thanks.
Okay, well said. Thank you, Mrs. Warning. Mrs. Rucci.
I have nothing further. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Mr. Gallagher.
Sure. Just in brief, as we celebrated Dr. Martin Luther King Jr.'s birthday, just yesterday, there's something that I shared this week in a number of different occasions, from the last message that he gave at Ebenezer Baptist Church to Drum Major Instinct. And I'm not going to read through the whole thing, just in paraphrase, that Dr. King reminds us that we don't have to have a wall full of degrees or any special knowledge to have an impact in the lives of one another. Just leading out with our passions, guiding, and so as we look at things in difficult times, I know that each member of this board is coming with their passions to do the very best to guide our community forward, and I think that that's emphasized in this. Because even in the midst of our greatest of debates, Dr. King says in one of the parts of this, you only need a heart full of grace and a soul generated by love. And I think that in the bottom line, that's where we all come from. Even in the midst of the times that we may not agree on the details of that. So I have nothing further.
All right, thank you, Mr. Gallagher. Mrs. Delaney.
Yes, I'd like to first also kind of piggyback on two things. One, as Mr. Gallagher was saying, as far as Dr. King's celebration yesterday, and I'm glad so many were able to tune in on a lot of the, I call festivities or his speeches or just different programs that they had. And I'm sure a lot of our young people were able to do so too. But also in thinking of Dr. King's holiday as being a day of service, and I thank Dr. Short for recognizing the school board in the same way, and as I do all my fellow school board members, because we are acting in service when we serve our community on the school board. And I appreciate each and every one of you for doing that as well. But closing out, I would like us to hear the last 5 minutes from the speech presentation of Dr. King that I started having us listen to last week. And I appreciate that. Thank you. Can we turn the volume up?
Social stagnation. So we must have time and realize that time is always right to do right. Now that is another myth that still gets around. It is a kind of over-reliance on the bootstrap philosophy. There are those who still feel that if the Negro is to rise out of poverty, if the Negro is to rise out of slum conditions, if he is to rise out of discrimination and segregation, he must do it all by himself. And so they say the Negro must lift himself by his own bootstraps. They never stop to realize that no other ethnic group has been a slave on American soil. The people who say this never stop to realize that the nation made the black man's color a stigma. But beyond this, they never stop to realize the debt that they owe a people who were kept in slavery 200 Abraham Lincoln. But he was not given any land to make that freedom meaningful. It was something like keeping a person in prison for a number of years and suddenly discovering that that person is not guilty of the crime for which he was convicted. Just go up to him and say, now you're free. But you don't give him any bus fare to get to town. You don't give him any money to get some clothes to put on his back or to get on his feet again in life. Every code of jurisprudence would rise up against this. And yet this is the very thing that our nation did to the black man. It simply said you're free, and it left him there penniless, illiterate, not knowing what to do. And the irony of it all is that at the same time, the nation failed to do anything for the black man. Through an act of Congress, it was giving away millions of acres of land in the West and the Midwest, which meant that it was willing to undergird its white peasants from Europe with an economic floor. But not only did it give the land, it built land-grant colleges to teach them how to farm. Not only that, it provided county agents to further their expertise in farming. Not only that, as the years unfolded, it provided low interest rates so that they could mechanize their farms. And to this day, thousands of these very persons are receiving millions of dollars in federal subsidies every year not to farm. And these are so often the very people who tell Negroes that they must lift themselves by their own bootstraps. It's all right to tell a man to lift himself by his own bootstraps, but it is a cruel jest to say to a bootless man that he ought to lift himself by his own bootstraps. We must come to see that the roots of racism are very deep in our country. And there must be something positive and massive in order to get rid of all of the effects of racism and the tragedies of racial injustice. That is another thing closely related to racism that I would like to mention as another challenge. We are challenged to rid our...
Thank you. Thank you, Bonnie, Esher.
You're welcome. Welcome, Susan.
All righty. Thank you, Ms. Delaney. I'm just gonna, you really can't follow that, but I do want to end with just a few comments for myself here. One, I know we've had a rocky start to having kids back for hybrid. You know, we will get get back to it completely. But for right now, you know, we just got a few more bumps and we'll be back. But I'm very happy that we do have our students in the buildings. You know, it is great to see everybody once again. And also as a reminder, we have 1 week left till our deadline to accept all letters of interest for the current vacant board position. So again, those who are interested, please make sure you submit your letter of interest and resume to Ms. Bonnie Isha, who then can get it distributed to the board. That is all I have. So do I have a motion for adjournment?
I move we be adjourned.
We have a second.
Second.
Okay, motion by Mrs. Delaney, second by Mr. Gallagher. All those in favor say aye.
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 All those opposed?
Aye.
All right, meeting adjourned.